In August of 2024, when the world was still crawling out from the hush of the pandemic, there stood a quiet village high in the mountains of Southeast Asia. It was a place no map ever boldly claimed, tucked between the borders of Thailand and Myanmar, where moss grew thick on wooden fences, and prayers, though whispered by different faiths, dissolved into the same clouds. The villagers lived simply. Days began with birdsong and ended with candlelight flickering behind bamboo walls. The scent of rain clung to everything, the soil, the roofs woven from dry leaves, even the clothing that hung beneath low eaves. Roads were little more than dirt trails winding among terraced fields, and the only constant sound was the murmur of the nearby river, slipping through the valley like a silver ribbon. Higher up the slope stood an old monastery, built of stone that had weathered centuries of storms. Its roof curved like the wings of cranes, and the main hall smelled of sandalwood from countless burned incense sticks. Travelers who wished for quiet came here, seeking healing, forgiveness, or simply silence. Among the monks living there was Brother Arun, a man of 34, known for both devotion and discipline. He had come to that mountain as a young boy after tragedy struck his family. The monks took him in, taught him to chant, to meditate, to listen deeply. With time, Arun became respected, not because he sought power or position, but because he sought purity. Yet purity, when grasped too tightly, can turn sharp. Arun saw the world in stillness and absolute truths. The temple was where truth lived, and everything outside, especially other forms of worship, felt unclear, diluted. He didn't despise those who believed differently, rather, he pitied them. In his heart, he believed they simply did not understand. For many years, the mountains were peaceful, but after the pandemic swept through the world, grief seeped even into this remote place. Families descended the mountain carrying incense, flowers, and framed photographs of those who had died. Some came asking for prayers from monks. Others sought comfort simply by being with others who mourned. Then came something new. At the base of the mountain, just beyond the stream that divided temple ground from village farmland, volunteers from outside arrived to build a small Catholic prayer house. They came quietly, without pageantry. Most were locals who had returned from the cities during the pandemic. Others were Filipino workers who knew the pain of losing loved ones far from home. Leading them was a young priest named Father Joseph, gentle-spoken, kind-eyed, carrying not only scripture, but medicine, blankets, and food for villagers affected by the recent crisis. He brought with him a small white statue of the Virgin Mary, no taller than his arm, carved from local stone. He placed it beside the stream, under a flowering tree where candles could be safely lit. There were no bells, no banners, no loud preaching, only quiet prayers. At first, no one noticed. But soon, villagers began to pause by the statue. A farmer would set down jasmine. A father would bow his head. A mother lit a small candle beside the flowing stream. Some prayed. Others just stood there silently, watching the water pass. Their gestures were simple, unassuming, gentle. And that gentle presence troubled Brother Arun more than if the newcomers had shouted their faith aloud. From his vantage on the mountain steps, he watched villagers change direction on their walks, detouring toward the statue. They were not abandoning the temple. They still came to make offerings, to breathe incense into the air. But their hearts seemed pulled by something else, something new, something he could not control. Arun felt a knot tighten in his chest. He told himself it was worry that the villagers might stray, but in truth it was fear that perhaps his faith was not the only answer. It began with murmurs. "It gives me peace," one woman said. "My son passed, yet I feel comfort here." Arun heard these whispers during market days and felt his jaw clench. Peace, he thought? Comfort? Had they forgotten the temple? Had they forgotten the teachings he lived and breathed? One evening, after sweeping the temple courtyard, he sat cross-legged before an oil lamp. Shadows rippled across his face. He tried to calm his mind, to let thoughts dissolve, as he had been taught since childhood, but his thoughts clung to the statue by the stream. The presence of another object of faith, right at the foot of the mountain, burned in his heart like a thorn. He tried to bring his concerns to the elder monk, but the elder only listened silently. After a long breath, the elder said, "Water flows many paths, but returns to the same sea." Arun bowed, but inside his spirit trembled. Not everyone can accept such simplicity, not when pride quietly anchors the heart. The next day, Arun stood at the cliffside path watching villagers gather near the statue. Their hands carried flowers and candles. Father Joseph prayed softly, his voice no louder than the river. Arun could not hear the words, yet he imagined judgment behind them. He felt anger rising, not fiery, but cold and hard. This mountain has been guarded by our temple for generations. Their prayers, their foreign faith, does not belong here. He clenched his fists. In the quiet of his mind, he whispered words never spoken aloud. "My path is the true path." And that belief, once so pure, began to twist. The story of the statue spread quickly, not as rumor, but as hope. People who had lost family during the pandemic came and placed folded letters beneath the Virgin's feet, offering their grief. Some said they felt lighter afterward. Others claimed they dreamed of a gentle woman who comforted them. Arun heard all of this, and with every story, his pride burned hotter. Yet, something else lived beneath that fire, a whisper of curiosity, a fragile thread of fear. What if? What if their prayers were heard? He shook the thought away. "I must protect the people," he told himself. But deep down, he knew. He was protecting his own certainty. One night, unable to sleep, he walked the temple corridors and stood before the gilded statue inside. He bowed his head, but his heart felt troubled. No matter how hard he tried to silence his mind, the image of the Virgin by the stream returned, floating in his thoughts like a white flame. He feared that if the Virgin offered peace, his own faith might be questioned. And so the seed of conflict sprouted, silent, bitter, alive. High in the mountains, the monastery remained quiet. But quiet things can hold storms, and this storm was coming. The days passed quietly on the mist-covered slopes. Arun continued his disciplined routine, sweeping the courtyard at dawn, ringing the bell for meditation, guiding young novices through chants. Yet beneath his calm exterior, an uneasiness took root. People in the village began whispering about a Catholic chapel recently built at the base of the mountain. It was small, nothing more than wooden walls and a simple roof, raised by villagers to pray for their loved ones who had died in the recent epidemic. At first, Arun dismissed it as harmless. Then came talk of a statue. "A white stone woman," a novice whispered. "They say she brings comfort." The words echoed in Arun's mind long after the novice left. That night, he stood outside his quarters, listening to distant thunder rolling among the peaks. Clouds smothered the sky. The air felt heavy, as if the mountain was holding its breath. "This land is Buddhist," he muttered. "It does not need foreign gods." Yet the tremor in his voice betrayed him. He feared something he could not name, perhaps a loosening of his authority, perhaps the humiliation that another faith could fill hearts that his teachings could not. The next day, a young priest arrived, Father Joseph. He looked barely past 30, with a quiet gentleness that unsettled Arun more than any loud preacher could. He possessed a strange peace, like someone who carried no need to prove anything. Joseph and the volunteers visited the sick, fed families in mourning, and sat with those who couldn't sleep for grief. Villagers, who only yesterday came to Arun with their sorrows, now walked down the mountain to speak with the priest. Arun watched from afar, his hands tucked inside his robe to hide how tightly they clenched. In the evening, by the stream, Father Joseph washed a small white statue before placing it on a flat stone. It depicted a woman with a soft, open face, Mother Mary, arms outstretched as if welcoming the broken. Someone lit a candle beside her. The flame flickered, warming her stone cheeks with a faint glow. Villagers gathered. Some whispered prayers. Others merely sat before her in silence, offering their suffering like children seeking comfort. Arun's chest tightened. "Blindness," he muttered, "they are led astray." But even as he said it, something inside him faltered. The villagers were not compelled by force or grand promises, only by the quiet peace that radiated from the priest and that simple, gentle image by the water. And so anger and fear grew vines around his heart. That night he tossed on his thin mattress, awake long after the monastery had gone silent. The storm outside battered the temple roof. Wind rattled the wooden frames. The incense bowl beside him shifted as though touched by an unseen hand, spilling ashes onto the table. Every question that tormented him returned. Why do they go there? Why do they pray to her? Why do they not come to me? Why does she comfort them? He held his breath, as if waiting for an answer. A sudden gust roared through the corridor, and the candle in his room went out. The darkness felt suffocating. Without thinking, he rose and stepped into the storm. Rain splashed against his bare feet as he crossed the courtyard to the incense store. There, he filled a bucket with thick, wet mud, mixing in ashes collected from the temple burners. The paste steamed faintly, a murky, unsettling blend of earth and remnants of prayer. He stirred it slowly, whispering into the storm, not words of blessing, but a bitter challenge, spoken more to his own wounded pride than to any god. If they believe she has power, let her show it. The wind howled in answer. With the bucket in hand, he descended the mountain path. Fog wrapped around him like ghosts. The stream below murmured, its voice soft in the storm. The white statue stood by the water, glistening with raindrops, looking strangely alive beneath the moonlight. She seemed to watch him. That thought enraged him. "You do not belong here," his voice cracked. "You steal their hearts. You weaken their faith." His breath trembled. Thunder shattered the sky. He lifted the bucket. "If your God is real," he hissed, "let him stop me." No voice replied. Only the stream continued whispering. His arm swung. The mud splashed across the statue's face, thick and dark, smothering her gentle features. It covered her eyes, cheeks, and robes, dripping slowly down like bleeding clay. For one heartbeat, there was only silence. Rain softened. The wind died. Arun felt his own breath echo in the quiet. He expected triumph, some vindication. Instead, a strange hollowness spread inside him, as though something vital had just torn. A single thought rose in his mind, unwelcome, fragile. What have I done? His heartbeat pounded in his ears. He shook his head violently, refusing to feel doubt. It needed to be done, he whispered, though the words felt weak. He turned away, desperate to escape. Halfway up the path, a sound froze him in his tracks. A woman's voice, soft, sorrowful, impossibly close, spoke behind him. "Why do you wound the one who loves you?" His blood ran cold. The forest fell deathly still. He spun around. Nothing moved. No figure. Just the statue, dark with mud, staring blankly at the sky. His pulse slammed in his throat. He stumbled, nearly falling. Fear surged, uncontrollable. He ran up the mountain through rain and dark, crashed into his room, and barred the door. His robe clung to his shaking body. That was the wind, he told himself. The wind, only the wind. But he could still hear the voice, soft, broken, echoing inside his mind. He lay awake until the storm faded. Just before dawn, he slipped into a feverish sleep. In his dream, the statue stood clean once more, shining like fresh snow. Beside it stood a woman in white, face radiant yet sorrowful. Tears traced her cheeks, falling to the ground where lilies bloomed in their wake. She looked at him so deeply it seemed her gaze passed through his bones, and whispered, "Child, love is not your enemy." He reached toward the lilies, and woke with a gasp, drenched in sweat, the morning bell ringing faintly outside. He pressed his trembling hands together, trying to steady himself. He had mocked her, he had challenged her, he had smeared her face with mud, and yet he felt as though she had come to him, not to condemn, but to grieve for him. For the first time in many years, Arun felt unbearably small. He bowed his head, and the mountain remained silent. Arun woke before sunrise, though he had scarcely slept. His robe was damp from sweat, his breath still uneven. The monastery bell tolled in the courtyard, slow, resonant, calling the monks to morning meditation. He tried to join them. He sat with the others, legs crossed, palms together. The old abbot led the chants, soft, rhythmic, like water against stone. But Arun's mind refused to settle. Each time he closed his eyes, the voice returned. "Why do you wound the one who loves you?" It was not a scolding voice. It was sorrowful, tender, pleading. He opened his eyes sharply. The chanting continued around him, but he felt as though he were no longer part of it. His heart was elsewhere, down the mountain, by the stream, where he had flung mud in a moment of rage and fear. When meditation ended, the abbot approached him. The elder's voice was gentle, yet piercing in its clarity. "You did not chant this morning." Arun swallowed. "My mind was troubled." "By what?" He hesitated. A monk of his standing would never confess uncertainty. His pride fought to keep silence. But the memory of the woman in white, of her eyes filled with tears, crushed his defenses. "I saw something," he whispered, "or heard." The abbot studied him for a long moment, then rested a hand lightly on his shoulder. Fear often enters when the heart is not honest with itself. Arun flinched. The abbot continued, "There is a story, long forgotten, of a spirit that dwells in these hills. A motherly presence. She visits only those whose hearts are breaking." Arun's voice returned in a dry swallow. "My heart is not breaking." The abbot did not argue. He simply released Arun's shoulder and walked away. Arun stayed frozen in place, feeling strangely exposed. He clenched his palms until his nails dug into his skin. After breakfast, he could stand it no longer. He slipped away from the monastery, telling no one where he was going. The mountain path seemed unfamiliar, though he had walked it countless times. Every tree, every stone, felt charged with quiet watching, as if the forest remembered what he had done. Fog clung to the roots like wool. The air smelled of rain and wet leaves. When he reached the stream, he stopped so suddenly he nearly stumbled. The statue stood as he had left it, but the mud he had hurled at her was gone. Not a smear, not a stain, nothing. Her white face glowed faintly in the early light, serene as though nothing had ever touched her. Arun's breath caught. He approached slowly, step by step, unable to look away. On the stone beneath her, faint trails of moisture clung to the surface, dried into delicate tracks, like tears. He dropped to his knees without meaning to. The world around him fell silent, as though the mountain held its breath again. "How?" he whispered. His hands trembled. He reached toward the statue's cheek, half expecting to find it warm. Instead, the stone was cool, yet not cold. It felt strange, almost like living skin. He pulled his hand back quickly. At the statue's base, a flower grew. A single lily. Pure white, fragile, yet defiantly alive. The soil around it was still rocky, untouched by any gardener. It should not have been able to grow there, yet it stood tall, facing the morning light. Arun felt the tremor run through his entire body. The memory of his dream returned. The woman in white, her tears becoming lilies. He felt a painful tightness in his chest, as if the dream still clung to him. He bowed his head, trembling, and a single tear slipped down his cheek, darkening the dust beneath him. Without thinking, he whispered, I am sorry." The words came unbidden, raw, fragile. But even as they left his lips, he felt relief, like a stone rolling away from his heart. He remained kneeling for a long time. The stream whispered beside him, gentle and calm, as if consoling him. The mountain breeze brushed over him like a mother's hand over a frightened child. Eventually, voices drifted from the trees, villagers approaching the stream, bringing candles and flowers. Arun panicked. He did not want them to see him, the proud monk, kneeling before the statue he had tried to defile. He rose clumsily and hurried into the forest, hiding behind a cluster of bamboo. From there, he watched. The villagers gasped when they saw the lily. Some fell to their knees. Others whispered prayers. An elderly woman, her back bent with age, touched the petals with trembling fingers. Tears streamed down her face. "My son died last winter," she whispered. "I prayed for peace. She heard me." The villagers began lighting candles, arranging them carefully around the statue. The soft flames flickered, illuminating Mary's stone face like dawn made of fire. Arun felt a strange ache deep within his chest, a feeling he had not known since childhood. Something tender, something bright, something like longing. He could not stay hidden. His heart compelled him forward. He stepped onto the path, branches snapping beneath his feet. The villagers turned. Their eyes widened, not with fear, but with quiet wonder. They knew he had opposed this statue. Perhaps some suspected what he had done. Yet no one spoke harshly. The elderly woman approached him, leaning heavily on her cane. "You have come," she said softly. Arun lowered his gaze. He could not meet her eyes. I have wronged this place." Her hand reached up, wrinkled and warm, touching his arm. "All hearts that suffer are welcomed here," she whispered. "Even yours." He felt his throat tighten. He tried to speak, but his voice failed him. Father Joseph stepped forward. "Brother Arun." Arun flinched at the gentleness in the priest's voice. "I saw mud here yesterday," Joseph continued. "Today, it is gone." Arun could not deny it. His lips trembled. I caused it." Silence fell over the stream. Only water moved. He waited for condemnation, for anger. None came. Father Joseph simply nodded, eyes calm, filled with a compassion that gave Arun no room to hide. "Sometimes," the priest said softly, "God allows us to break what we do not understand, so he can heal what we did not know was wounded." Arun felt his breath stop. He looked up slowly. Joseph's expression held no judgment, only sorrow, as if he too carried wounds. "I do not understand," Arun whispered. "You will," Joseph said, "in time." The villagers resumed their prayers. Some lit incense, others sang quiet hymns. The mountain air felt transformed, full of reverence and warmth. Arun stood at the edge, uncertain, feeling both unworthy and unable to leave. The lily swayed in the wind, as if bowing to him, inviting him closer. He stepped forward, slowly. He knelt again, this time not in fear, but in surrender. His forehead touched the earth. Tears fell freely. He did not pray with words. He did not know how. He simply opened his heart and let the truth surge through him. He had been wrong. His pride had blinded him. His fear had misled him. Yet, despite all this, he felt forgiven. He looked up at Mary's face. Her stone eyes seemed to shine, not with judgment, but with an endless tenderness that broke him completely. His voice came as a whisper, bare and trembling. "Teach me." The breeze stirred, rustling the bamboo leaves overhead. The lily trembled, as though touched by unseen fingers. For the first time in his life, Arun felt truly seen. He stood slowly, wiped his face, and stepped backward, not away from the statue, but toward the path leading up the mountain. He felt changed. He did not know what came next, only that he could no longer return to who he had been. As he walked, he sensed the mountain watching him, not with warning, but with welcome. And somewhere deep in the forest, a woman's gentle voice seemed to whisper again, not reproach, but invitation. Come home. The earth beneath Lourdes felt strangely still, as if the world itself were holding its breath. The crowd, still shaken from what Arun had done, watched him with cautious awe. The same young man who had once smeared mud onto the Holy Mother now stood motionless, trembling, tears pouring down his face as though his soul had been broken open. The Virgin's presence lingered like a gentle light hovering over the wounded priest. Her radiance had not faded. Instead, it shimmered with an even deeper warmth, as though her heart beat for all who stood before her, believers, skeptics, and sinners alike. Father Miguel exhaled slowly. His hands, minutes earlier covered in blood, were now clean. He placed his palm over his chest, then looked at Arun with an expression that contained no accusation, only love. Arun fell to his knees. I don't understand," he whispered. Why would she help me after what I did?" The Virgin's soft voice resonated, not aloud, but inside every heart. "My child, mercy is not earned, it is given." Arun broke. His sobs echoed through the grotto, raw and vulnerable. People around him cried too, mothers, teenagers, old men, pilgrims who had never seen a miracle but had always prayed for one. Suddenly, the sky changed. Clouds spiraled slowly, forming a brilliant ring overhead. Light poured down like a gentle waterfall, gold, white, and crystal blue. It did not burn, it felt like warmth, forgiveness, and peace combined. Those who touched it felt their knees grow weak, not from fear, but from overwhelming love. A young girl, blind since childhood, blinked rapidly. Her mother gasped, "Mama, I can see you!" The crowd erupted. A man who had limped for 30 years straightened his back. Another woman dropped her crutch, stunned. Quiet miracles bloomed like flowers, everywhere, all at once. But this time, no one screamed, no panic, only tears and reverence. Arun stared at his hands, the same hands he had used to harm. They shook, glowing faintly with the light of grace. He pressed them to his face as if trying to hold the miracle inside him. The Virgin looked at him with maternal tenderness. "Return, not because you are worthy, but because you are loved." Arun bowed his head. "What must I do?" No answer came in words, but a deep certainty filled him. He must make amends, not through punishment, but through a life transformed. The Virgin turned her gaze toward Father Miguel. He stood, unable to speak. He remembered the moment she shielded him, her presence stopping the violence in its tracks. Now his body felt whole, his wounds gone. He tried to thank her, but the words came out ragged. "Thank you for saving him more than me." She smiled. Then her light stretched outward, to the pilgrims, to the hills, to the world, and slowly, peacefully, she began to fade. "Please don't go," someone whispered. Her final words echoed through every heart. "I am always with you." The light dissolved. The grotto returned to ordinary quiet. The wind rustled the leaves. Birdsong resumed. But nothing was the same. Arun rose, weaker and stronger at the same time. His eyes were no longer angry, but clear, humble, and awake. He turned to Father Miguel. "I don't deserve forgiveness." Father Miguel placed a hand on his shoulder. "None of us do. That's what makes it real." Arun cried again, this time not from shame, but from hope. Lourdes authorities later arrived, shocked by the testimony of hundreds. Medics confirmed Father Miguel's recovery. Journalists tried to piece together what happened, but every camera that had been pointed at the apparition found its footage mysteriously washed with pure white light. Nothing more. No proof, except the lives forever changed. Arun chose not to run. He stayed in Lourdes, serving quietly, cleaning, carrying water, helping the sick. No one forced him. It was his offering. Some said the Virgin appeared again to him in dreams. Others said he prayed with such reverence that those near him felt peace radiate from his presence. Regardless, Arun never spoke proudly of what happened. When people asked, he always replied, "I saw love. Love saw me. That is enough." As for Father Miguel, he visited the grotto every morning, never to ask for miracles, but to give thanks for the greatest one. A heart changed. Years later, pilgrims still remembered the night of November 2024, when a violent act was swallowed by mercy, when a sinner became a witness, and when the Mother of Heaven stood between darkness and her children. No grand monument marked the miracle, only a simple message carved quietly in stone. Mercy is stronger, and everyone who passed by felt the truth of it. The story spread, not as a legend, but as a testimony of what happens when heaven touches earth. Not that the perfect are chosen, but that love never abandons the broken. The memory of the Virgin's presence remained, like a soft flame that could never be extinguished. A sign, a promise, a return. The Mother was here, and she is never far.
Mr. Tran Vinh was a man who had built an empire. From humble beginnings in the Vietnamese countryside, he rose to become one of the wealthiest men in the region. He owned hotels, real estate developments, companies, and he moved among elites. Everyone saw him as a self-made man. He bore the title tycoon, and he let the world know it. In his mansion high above the city lights, Tran Vinh held cocktail parties and gala dinners. He was used to being served. He measured life in deals, profit margins, luxury cars, and trophy homes. The world belonged to him, or so he believed. As his fortunes grew, his faith dwindled. Once, as a young man, he attended Mass with his mother and felt a stir in his heart. But the demands of building his kingdom consumed him. He began to consider religious devotion as quaint, irrelevant, a relic of the past. He held no patience for superstition. He believed, if you have money, you have power. If you have power, you answer to no one. One day, in the stretch of land which he had earmarked for a major development project, there stood an old chapel with a statue of Our Lady, Mary, Mother of God. The local villagers cherished it. They came to light candles and pray for the harvest, for health, for peace. But to Tran Vinh, it was an obstacle, a distraction in his plan, a symbol of the poor man's devotion, something to be swept aside so that his skyscraper or shopping complex could rise. He issued orders. Remove the chapel, clear the statue, build on this land. Faith has no place here, only progress. His contractors hesitated. The villagers petitioned, but he pushed ahead. One evening, under the gleam of floodlights and the sound of excavators, Tran Vinh, in his bespoke suit and polished shoes, walked to the statue. The moonlight cast a silver glow on the serene face of the figure of the Virgin Mary. He paused, gazed at it, then sneered. With a quick motion, he ordered the statue to be removed. The statue was knocked from its pedestal, dragged off the spot, thrown into the shallow pond beside the chapel grounds. The water rippled. Some of the villagers gasped, but those running his project cheered. Finally, the old relic is gone. For Tran Vinh, it seemed symbolic. He had shown that nothing stood in his way, not faith, not tradition, not humble devotion. He had proven his dominion. And in his mind, the statue's fall marked the triumph of his will. But beneath the shimmer of his success, cracks were forming. Almost immediately, the project encountered delays. Contractors demanded bigger payments. Permits got held up. Mysterious accidents delayed excavation. Tran Vinh shrugged them off as costs of doing business.
At home, when he returned to his mansion, the emptiness began to gnaw. He realized that no amount of champagne or applause filled the void. He turned away from overlooked invitations to Mass. He dismissed his wife's suggestion that they visit a small parish for reconciliation. He believed he was above needing forgiveness. Yet, the deepest blow was waiting. One morning, the media reported that his major partner had sold his shares and left the company. Another headline announced that his daughter, once his pride, was hospitalized under strange circumstances. A public scandal erupted over allegations of financial misdealings in his development. Within weeks, his empire trembled. In the whirlwind of crisis, something strange happened. The pond into which the statue had been thrown developed algae, weird odors, even fish dying. Neighbors whispered of a cursed spot. A local priest quietly said to one of the villagers, "When we treat the sacred with disdain, we may not see the immediate cost, but the soul knows." Tran Vinh laughed off the rumors. He said, "This is nonsense. I'm a rational man. My money buys solutions." Yet inside, he felt an unfamiliar dread. He began to dream dark dreams, of falling towers, of losing everything, of being utterly alone. Thus, the first chapter closes. A man in the throes of pride, convinced of his invincibility, yet standing poised on the edge of spiritual collapse. For Tran Vinh, the fall was swift. The market turned, investors pulled back, lawsuits followed. His lavish lifestyle became unsustainable. His staff began to leak stories. His reputation took damage. His wife left for a quieter life abroad. His daughter, though recovering, no longer spoke to him. He found himself in the empty halls of his mansion, echoing with silence. In that moment of humiliation, he realized what he had dismissed, that faith is not decoration, it is a lifeline. One evening, alone in his darkened office overlooking the city, he recalled the statue of Our Lady being thrown into the pond. He thought, why did I do that? What did I accomplish, aside from angering something I don't understand? The emptiness in his heart grew. He felt fear of losing everything, yes, but more than that, he felt the fear of being unredeemable. In his pride, he had treated devotion as a joke. Now, in ruin, he saw that devotion matters. He reached out to the small parish where the old chapel had been. He knocked at the door. A humble priest answered. He recognized the face of the man whose development crew had removed the statue. They sat in a cold, simple room. Tran Vinh could hardly speak at first. He admitted, "I was wrong. I thought I was above it. I thought money was enough. But now I have lost it. Perhaps I lost myself, too. The priest listened, then said gently, "You still have a soul. You still have a chance. But it will require humility, confession, and a turning away from the old way." He offered to help Tran Vinh return the statue, restore the chapel, and offer his resources for good. Tran Vinh recoiled at first. He thought, "But doing proper repentance will show weakness. People will mock me." Yet inside, he had nothing else. He agreed. What followed was a slow, painful process of restoration. Tran Vinh sold off major assets. He downsized his life. He traveled to the village where the old chapel stood. He knelt by the pond. He asked forgiveness, not just of people, but of God and of the Mother of God. He ordered the statue recovered. It was cleaned, placed back on a new pedestal. A small plaque was added, "In memory of humility regained." Volunteers gathered. Villagers came. The old chapel was reopened for Mass. Tran Vinh attended, quietly, in the back pew, not as a tycoon, but as a penitent man. During that season, numerous coincidences occurred. The water in the pond cleared, fish returned. Contractors hired by the project gave unexpected goodwill. Neighbors spoke of the changed man. Not that his wealth returned, but the peace he had never known started to arrive. Inside his heart, Tran Vinh discovered that faith isn't about proving you have power. It's about recognizing you need help. He learned that trust is not built on money, but on mercy. He felt for the first time the warmth of letting go of control. His daughter returned, hesitantly. She told him, "I wanted you to know I still believe in you, not the tycoon, but the Father." He wept. He promised, "I will not be the same man." The community watched, and they began to hope. And so the second chapter, a man stripped of his illusions, his pride shattered, his faith tested, and in the testing, his transformation began. In the final chapter, Tran Vinh found that restoration is not instantaneous. It is a daily decision. He created a small foundation dedicated to helping the poor, the displaced, communities near the site of the old chapel, and others. He cut his own salary to a minimal level. He took on oversight personally, visited the families his foundation served. The chapel became a center of healing. Every Sunday after Mass, Tran Vinh stood aside as volunteers served meals to the needy. He scrubbed floors, handed out blankets, and asked nothing in return. He no longer sought public acclaim. He sought only authenticity. One evening, as twilight fell and candles glowed in the chapel, a woman approached him. She said, "I'm the one who begged you to leave the statue in the first place. I want to thank you for returning it, for what you've done with the land. I don't know how to say it, except, you changed." Tran Vinh smiled, quietly, and answered, "I was the one who needed to be changed." In that chapel, there remained the statue, the same figure of Our Lady, now gazing out with gentle compassion. Above it, the words, "Behold your mother." Tran Vinh often paused before that statue, and often heard in his heart not condemnation, but welcome. His daughter got married in that chapel. The pond beside it, once foul and despised, was renewed into a small reflective pool. People came to pray by its edge. He set aside part of his foundation's funds to restore it into a garden of contemplation. News of what he had done spread beyond the village. Some skeptics called it a publicity stunt. Others called it miraculous. But for Tran Vinh, the truth was simple. He had been offered mercy, and he accepted. He had been humbled, and he was healed. At the end of his journey, he stood at the border of his past and his new life. He realized the empire he once built could vanish tomorrow, but what matters is the life he now lives, rooted in love, humility, and service. As the ceremony concluded, the priest of the parish said to the assembled, "Let this story be a reminder. When we boast, we fall. When we submit, we are raised up. God's mercy is not exhausted by our sin. It is greater than it. Let us be witnesses." And Tran Vinh, once proud, now quiet, placed his hand on the statue's base and whispered, "Thank you, Mother, for not leaving me when I left you." To an American audience, this story resonates beyond its Vietnamese backdrop. It is a universal tale of corporate success, spiritual emptiness, arrogance, reckoning, and redemption. It reminds us that in a culture that often equates success with wealth, the greatest triumph may be the surrender of ego. It shows that faith is not a symbol to discard, but a refuge to embrace. And it teaches that mercy awaits even the most proud, if we but turn our faces back. Let this narrative invite reflection. What statues do we toss aside in our lives? Symbols of truth, of faith, of community, because we believe we are in control. And when we lose control, will we rush back, with humility, to that which we once scorned? May the story of Mr. Tran Vinh serve as a mirror, and may we each find the courage to kneel, to confess, to ask for forgiveness, and to live as witnesses.